Okay, good evening, everybody. You are at the City of Englewood City Council Workshop Meeting. We are in the Municipal Court Building. We will now rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I call the meeting to order. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Yancy, would you please read the statement regarding Open Public Meetings Act?
This meeting is called pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Law. Notice of this meeting was included in a notice sent to the Record and the Star Ledger and advertised in said newspapers on January 10th, 2023, posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and has remained continuously posted as the required notices under the statute. A copy of this notice is and has been available to the public and is on file in the office of the municipal clerk. Proper notice having been given, the municipal clerk is directed to include the statement in the minutes of this meeting.
Roll call.
Councilman Cobb, we're doing roll call. Councilman Cobb? Roll call, thank you. Councilman Rosenzweig?
Here.
Councilman Wilson?
Present.
Councilwoman Wasotsky? She's here a minute ago. Council President Marin?
Here.
Absent with prior notice is Mayor Michael Wiles. Also present is City Manager Robert S. Hoffman, City Attorney Bill Bailey, CFO Michael Kaufman, and City Engineer Franz Volsi.
Special Improvement District for the fiscal year 2024 budget. Resolution number 190061323. Yancy, you want to read the title?
This resolution is to allow the Special Improvement District budget to be read by title only.
Okay. Could we have a motion, please?
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Cobb?
Yes.
Councilman Rosenzweig?
Yes.
Councilman Wilson?
Yes.
Council President Marin?
Yes. All right, I am opening the public hearing on Resolution 190-06-13, -23, approving the Englewood Special Improvement District budget for 2024. If you would like to speak, ask a question, give us information, please come up to the microphone. You need your name, your address. You have 3 minutes. Do we have anyone interested in speaking? Okay. Can we have a motion?
To
So
close the
moved.
public hearing. Close the public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to close the public hearing. Could we have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Roll call?
Councilman Cobb?
Yes.
Councilman Rosenzweig?
Yes.
Councilman Wilson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wasotsky, we're voting on the said budget right now.
Yes.
Council President Marin?
Yes. All right, we now move to ordinances. This is the introduction of the first reading. The ordinance is 23-16. Yancy, you want to read that, please? Oh, we want to move this to discussion?
So
We
we
want
need
Bob to speak
we
first.
need an ordinance to, we need a motion to amend the agenda to move this ordinance to discussion.
Okay, we are amending the agenda. We're going to be moving this ordinance so that it can be up for discussion.
I move that we move ordinance 23-16 to discussion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, roll call.
Councilman Cobb?
Yes.
Councilman Rosenzweig?
Yes.
Councilman Wilson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wasotsky?
Yes.
Council President Marin?
Yes. All right. Ordinance number 23-17. Yancy, want to read that, please?
This is an ordinance amending Schedule 16 of Section 25-26 of Chapter 25 of the Code of the City of Englewood relating to no left turn at the intersection of Walton Street and Broad Avenue.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call.
Councilman Kopp,
Hold on one second, what did you say, Broad and what?
Walton.
There are a lot of car accidents.
Yeah, I know. Yes,
Okay, thank you very much.
yes.
Councilman Rosenzweig,
Yes.
Councilman Wilson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Wasatski,
Yes.
Council President Marin.
Yes. All right, ordinance,
Just if you want to announce public hearing, will be June 27th.
oh, the public hearing on these items will be June 27th. Okay, ordinance 23-18. Nancy, want to read that?
This is an ordinance amending Schedule 10 of Section 25-18 of Chapter 25 of the Code of the City of Englewood relating to parking prohibited at all times on a portion of Lydecker Street.
Okay.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
I'll second, okay.
But,
Any discussion?
yes, when we say portion, could we be more specific where that is on Linebacker? I mean, I think for the public.
It's in the,
It's in the packet.
it's a
Wait,
30, it's a 30-foot stretch just north of the
I'll
women's
find
club
it in,
where,
Could we have put that in parentheses where it's at, so the public would have known? I mean, when we say
excuse me,
portion,
Charles. It's on the, it's from a point 129 feet north of the most northerly curb line of Brinkerhoff Court to point one,
But
okay?
I'm saying, I get that, but I'm saying, in the one thing I keep saying, in the title, cannot title be more specific? We could have said in parentheses
Okay.
right there. That's all I'm saying.
No,
So
that's
if
fine.
somebody read it, they would say, okay, I get it, I know exactly where that's at. That's all I'm saying. That's all.
Okay.
I'm okay with that, but I'm saying we should.
No, it's
when
a
we
good
get the
idea.
opportunity to be more specific, we should.
Good idea. Yancy, would you, next meeting, when we have something like this? Okay, we have,
Just need a roll call.
I need a roll call now.
Lydecker.
Councilman Kopp,
Yes.
Councilman Rosenzweig,
yes.
Councilman Wilson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Wasatski,
Yes.
Council President Marin.
Yes. All right, ordinance 23-19. Yancy?
This is an ordinance to amend and supplement Chapter 3 titled Administrative Code, Article 4, Section 3-21, Municipal Housing Liaison and Administrative Agent.
Okay, Mr. Hoffman, would you like to explain this?
No.
Okay,
No, I'm happy to.
Yes.
It'll be a tag
Because it's-
team,
yeah,
Council President. So, the city is engaged in implementing a settlement that was signed off on by Judge Farrington on January 10th of this year. Part of the settlement requires the city to designate a municipal liaison and administrative agent. So this ordinance is to put that in place. And then the next step is to go out and seek somebody to do that. There are companies that do that, and so we will move forward with that. And I would just ask our city solicitor if that 30-second synopsis was sufficient, or is there something else that should be added?
No, that's terrific, Mr. City Manager. Just these two individuals, though, what they do is monitor and implement the program, marketing it, making sure it gets out there, making sure there's compliance. So that's kind of the purpose of those positions. And if you like, Madam President, I can address the next two because they're
Perfect.
kind of related.
well,
These are,
excuse me, but don't we have to vote on them separately?
you have to vote on them separately, yes.
Okay.
But
But go ahead.
I can
as long as-
explain them.
Go ahead.
The next item, again, to Mr. Hoffman's point, and the following one, ordinance 23-20 is relating to housing development fees. The city currently has this on the books. However, it's, I think, approximately 20 years old. And what this is if there's a commercial development, for example, they're not building any affordable housing, so they have to pay currently it's a 2% development fee. With this proposal, it would increase that to 2.5%. That money goes into the city's Affordable Housing Trust Fund, and that money needs to be earmarked for that. So that ordinance is really updating that because, again, it's also pursuant to Judge Farrington's order. The last one is an ordinance to amend supplement Chapter 250 regarding affordable housing. What that does is implement the marketing and affirmative requirements that the city's obligated to undertake to promote the affordable housing, it sets forth the criteria for low income, things like that. And again, it's really updating, and this is really, again, pursuant to the directive of Judge Farrington. So that's the essence of these three ordinances.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes. Go ahead.
We're working on the third round for affordable housing. And unfortunately, it's come at a time where we don't have a lot of input. And these things come down, and it shouldn't be anything new to the council or the planning board. So we will have time to prepare and actually have an accurate count of what we're being mandated to refer to the state. I believe that there are multiple streams that we could be counting, as I've stated before, that we are not getting credit for. And if we do not have someone who's counting these positions, we have these developers come in and they're mandated to do affordable housing for 20 units, 10 units, whatever it is that we have to be mindful as a city, as a council, to hold them responsible to fulfill their obligations. Because now we're getting slammed with this affordable housing thing, and it comes into my constituents' area where they want to build to satisfy the affordable action. And I don't think we should allow that anymore. So I just want to let everybody be aware that this third term of affordable housing has been up for some time. And so we have to be more diligent on the developers we allow to come in and not give a proper account for affordable housing.
Thank you, Kevin. Would anyone else like to say something regarding this? Okay, we're going to have to do each one of them separately. We didn't do that.
comment on this?
No,
The next meeting.
next meeting.
No, July 11th. I was going to see if you could say the public hearing on this is
All right.
July 11th.
The public hearing on this will be on July 11th. That's what I was just told. Okay, so we're going to vote on three separate ordinances. Ordinance 19, yeah, do we have a second? Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
All right. Roll call?
Councilman Cobb?
Yes.
Councilman Rosenzweig?
Yes.
Councilman Wilson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wasatski?
Yes.
Council President Marin?
Yes, thank you. Ordinance 20, motion, please. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
A second.
Thank you. Roll call?
Councilman Cobb?
Yes.
Councilman Rosenzweig?
Yes.
Councilman Wilson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wasatski?
Yes.
Council President Marin?
Yes. And ordinance 21. Yancy?
Oh, you want me to read the title?
Yeah, read the title.
This is an ordinance to amend and supplement Chapter 250 titled Land Use, Article 17 entitled Affordable Housing.
Thank you. Motion?
So
Do we-
moved.
Second? Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Roll call, Yancy?
Councilman Cobb?
Yes.
Councilman Rosenzweig?
Yes.
Councilman Wilson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wasatski?
Yes.
Council President Marin?
Yes. Okay, we now move to the public comments portion of the meeting on agenda items which appear on my page 4. I don't know if it's the same for you. But anyway, on all the agenda item, consent agenda items. Please give us your name, your address. You have 3 minutes.
Yeah, Rick Wilby, 289 Plantation Way. 1990613-3, no, 23. Resolution to show support delaying the implementation of the 4th round of affordable housing obligations. You can't talk about affordable housing in the black community unless you talk about low-income housing. Everybody knows affordable housing goes off of a scale of a third of your income. And the affordable housing thing is a racket. Now I know why Michael Wiles is not here. Affordable housing is a racket. It allows developers to come in and develop in mainly black urban areas. It's gentrification 101. There's a great need for housing here, primarily in the Fourth Ward. You guys have built it up, taken it, resettled it, pilgrimized it, whatever words you're using nowadays. The master's plan is moving ahead nonetheless. I don't understand what you guys are implementing or holding up. I mean, the affordable housing does not work for black people. Black people have a need for low-income housing. Even I hear people complaining in Rock Creek, Parkview, King Gardens, Westmore Gardens, you name it. People cannot simply afford the rent. You have nobody that controls the raise in rent. People's rents are going up to $2,500, $2,800 a month. People are getting moved out, and those people are black folks. So it's just another form of systemic racism. And if you guys are serious about keeping the indigenous population here, you wouldn't have created this problem. This problem was created. A lot of people in Englewood own their homes. And thanks to things like the accelerated tax sales and building these monstrosities in the Fourth Ward, according to the master's plan, that destroyed the characteristics of the Fourth Ward. You have people that are paying more now in rent than they would pay in mortgage. So I really don't understand how smart some of you people are. I understand that greed drives white supremacy, also capitalism. And I'm telling you that gentrification is alive and well. And when I see things like this, I get really upset for the simple fact that everything that's going to be built, black people cannot simply afford. The average black household probably makes like $50,000, $40,000 one person income. What are you going to pay? There's nothing for $1,200. Now, I know you guys dream about us living in Patterson and Camden and Newark all day, all night, but some people want to stay in Bergen County where they grew up. And you have an obligation because this problem was created. Once upon a time, we had a surplus of housing. You could get an apartment in Forest Gardens and these other places for $1,200. I heard a gentleman the other day complain that his rent is going up to $2,000 for one bedroom. I mean, you could turn on left over there. You know what I'm saying? There's all kinds of things that happen down here. This is the place where all this stuff is happening, this war that's being waged against poor people whose only mistake in life is being born black. And that's wrong. And I know you guys don't care, but put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Thank you, Mr. Wilby.
Amy Bullock, Howland Avenue. Can you talk a little bit about Resolution 197061323, amazing amusements and entertainment for recreational opportunities?
Okay, sure.
Thank you, Amy.
Yes, this is inflatables for pools as well as on land, but this is something the Recreation Department rents every year. So this is these are the inflatable. I'm going to call them rides. I'm not sure that's the right name for it, but slides. Yeah, bounce houses, slides that the Rec Department rents every year.
You guys are not going to make a comment about my stuff? I told you the last time I identified Amy Bullock.
Excuse me, at the end of the comments.
Will you just answer Amy Bullock?
What? Okay. Could you please give us your name and your address?
Reverend John Givens, Shiloh AME Zion Church, Englewood. 3 years ago, I asked the question if Englewood had meet their legal obligation with regards to affordable housing, and I was told yes. And my question this evening, if Englewood, the legal obligation to provide affordable housing, have Englewood reached it, not reached it, or where are we with it? Affordable housing.
Do you want to answer?
Do you want me to wait till the end and then I'll answer?
All right, because I told Mr. Wilby we'd wait until the end.
It's okay. You
No, no, I'm here on resolution to show support of delaying and implementation of the fourth round of affordable housing on
Yeah,
the,
we-
I'm
yes.
addressing a Senate agenda.
No, that's perfectly fine. We're going to answer it. Let's just hear who else has a question, and we'll come back to it. We're going to answer it.
Okay, all right.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening. Raymond Diaz, 408 Shannon Court, speaking against Resolution 197, 061323. The fourth item down, whereas the qualified purchasing agent has certified that the procurement is in excess of the pay-to-play threshold. I haven't heard that spoken in a while. Back in the day, that was a negative. So is there, what does it mean in Englewood, this pay-to-play?
Okay,
Is
we're
there a
going,
conflict of interest there, or is this their pay-to-play in everything that you do with contracts in the city with other contractors?
Ray, we'll answer your
Okay.
question at the end.
Hi, my name is Lynn James. I am at 87 Matlage. I wasn't going to really say anything tonight. I just came to see what was happening. I'm new to the neighborhood. But I do want to have a follow-up question to the first gentleman who spoke on affordable housing. Where can I find data on the number of subgroups who do receive affordable housing and the number of subgroups, individuals who do get the low income? And then how is that data dissected as far as the subgroups of individuals? I know that we do a census. So like, what is the census saying with the affordable housing? Like, how many people are really moving out of Englewood, people of color, and how many are moving in based on the affordable housing law? So I'd like to know where that data is, and are you guys keeping data in that way? Just so that I'm just a little bit more aware. I'm just curious. I
No,
wasn't gonna say
thank-
anything,
no,
but I would
we'll
like
have
to.
somebody- we'll have
I would like to
somebody-
hear a little bit more about the actual data that you are
I heard you.
collecting.
Okay.
And also based on, what does that number and that range look like for what is considered affordable housing based on people's incomes?
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who has a question before we start answering?
Yeah, I'm not gonna pay for play, but I'll pay for some answers.
Does anyone else have a question? All right, I'm going to officially close the public questions. Mr. Hoffman, you want to start answering?
Yes, Council President. I was just looking for one of the resolutions. For Reverend Givens, he said that 3 years ago, the city he was told the city did meet its affordable housing obligations, and that answer is correct. There was a period of repose for round 3, and that went through, Bill, did it go through earlier this year, or?
We actually still have immunity for round 3, so it continues, but we had to do the plan that was approved by Judge Farrington on January 10th to show how the city's going to meet the round 3 requirements. And if I could just back up a little bit, the way the affordable housing works is they call them rounds. So there was round 1 in the 80s, I guess it was. Round 2 kind of was in more the 90s and early 2000s. Then COA kind of stopped functioning. So in 2015, the state Supreme Court issued an order that every municipality in the state of New Jersey had to file an action with, in our case, Hackensack Superior Court, for a judge to determine what each municipality's obligation is. COA used to publish regulations, which was much better because a town would have notice of what its obligation was. Now, all the towns in New Jersey have just been in this abyss, basically, with little or no guidance. So we're in round 3 right now, and the plan that was approved by Judge Farrington gets the city to comply with that. And part of the ordinances we talked about tonight are to have administrative agents and liaisons to help better monitor the affordable housing that's in the city, that's coming to the city, to make sure people are meeting the requirements and their obligations. This resolution, however, round 3 expires in July 1st, 2025. It's going to be here before we know it. So many of the towns are petitioning the legislature to extend that for another 3 or 4 years to give the town some time. We're just finishing round 3, as are most of the towns, and all of a sudden we got to start working on round 4. And you know, one of the issues is this Fair Share Housing Center has objected to the city getting credit for affordable housing that they built pre-Mount Laurel, before it was even required. So that's an issue that we continue to fight with them and in court.
Understood. You answered my question. During the period of round 3, are we still allowing building to be done, eliminating low income?
No,
Because you
no.
say we have up to 2025. So what is our position now until 25 on rounds 3? Are we going to be building some affordable housing?
This is not the time for you to come back. You want to answer this question?
Yes, the city did, part of the agreement that the court approved, there's a mandatory set-aside. So if someone built, I think it's 5 units or more, they have to set aside, depending on whether it's a rental or for sale, 15 or 20% of those units for low and moderate income housing.
Okay, I would just like to add something. I'm just underscoring what Bill said. Englewood was way before its time. We started building affordable units before they were required. So when Bill referred to Mount Laurel, we don't get credit for anything or any units that we already had prior to that time.
We're still fighting that fight, by the way.
And we're fighting
We're not
that
giving up on that
because
position. But
most of you know there are towns in Bergen County that have nothing, you know. But the truth is Englewood was way before its time. It started building affordable housing before it was a requirement.
And now you gentrify.
Okay. Enough.
All right, so
Say gentrification.
if I can continue to
Sure.
answer the questions, one of the things that for affordable housing that the court is going to give, the council is going to give Englewood credit for is, we wound up doing a survey, and Bill, is it 281 units? We have identified 281 units throughout the city, houses where we are going to be able to use affordable housing funding to make improvements to those housing for the people that live there. So whether it's a new roof or something of that nature, we're going to be able to do that to help keep those units, allow people to keep living in those units, and then to help make sure that they're affordable. But that was something that we just wound up doing. We literally did drive-throughs of every residential property in the city just to come up with our list. So that's part of what we're doing. Mr. Diaz asked about pay-to-play. Pay-to-play, what this means is that if a contract is over $17,500, there are forms that have to be filled out by the vendor or the contractor stating whether they've given contributions or not. So that's what it is, and we're just saying that if it's over 17.5, we acknowledge that, and you know, the people that we do business with, we're trying to be transparent, so we're making sure all of the forms are filled out. So that's what that's about. And then Ms. James asked several questions related to data for, I guess, our population trends and things of that nature. We're gonna have to think about that. You know, our planner has some of the data, but I'm not sure whether we have it on the website. The Census Bureau tracks the data, so I know that there's some of that. If you go to the Census Bureau and you take a look at Englewood, you would see it, but I have not taken a look at that in the last few months. But if you give us your card later on, we can try and.
I think if we have to talk about affordable housing and income data and that, we need to know the numbers. So we need to know by subgroups when you say we have affordable housing, like how many units are available for affordable housing? What are those units going for? Are they new units? Are they units that you are doing restoration with? And of those numbers, like how many are going to African American families? How many are going to different subgroups?
we're
Who lives in Englewood?
Yeah, we're mandated by the state
Yeah.
to have a particular number per capita, per our population. And as William has said, we were credited 261 units. But our burden was 800 plus. So there's a gap there.
When you say burden, you mean the number of applicants?
I'm sorry, I used the wrong word. It's not a burden. We need to acquire those 600 units to be in alignment with the state, if you will.
It's still not clear to me. I just would
So
prefer-
why don't we have a conversation offline? All right.
Okay.
I think the problem, the issue here, is that, and I think Mr. Wilby brought it up, there's a difference between affordable housing
In low income.
and low income
Yeah.
housing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
At
therefore.
one point, it used to be
Because
low
I
income.
think, and they use it affordable, and people get misled what affordable really means. Affordable could be $5,000 a month. Low income is based on your income. That's the driver. And you have people who live in affordable and low income housing paying market rent. You know, so I think that we need to be very clear when we're talking about these things and what our obligation is, so everybody understands what it means, what's the impact to the city of Englewood, what we're doing. Is because the city is looking at affordable housing, but we're not really talking about low income housing. Two different things. And we need to be very clear how we talk about these things, because there are obligations to meet things for affordable housing, but there's nothing that I know in place to meet low income housing goals.
It should be able to track and modify based on subgroups.
Okay, we're not disagreeing with you. He doesn't have the data in hand, so. No, you're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct.
I know you guys have
Okay,
built thousands of
we
units,
are,
and none of them can be afforded by
okay, I'm going to ask for a motion on these agenda items.
Can I?
Does
can I
any
ask-
more-
I-
sure,
I
go
have some
ahead.
questions. So on, resolution, 197, which is the entertainment for the bouncy houses, is that for the day camp program? What program of recreation is that going for?
The answer is yes, it's for summer camp and it's for the pools. So it's, summer camp's on Wednesdays and then for the pool. That's what it'll be used for.
Okay, and I had another question. I circled it. Hold on. Okay, I wanted to talk about the waiver of the downtown parking meter fees for sizzling sidewalks. So, you know, I guess there are certain times during the year that the city waives downtown parking meter fees. I think we have to understand what that impact is of waiving the fees, and if we have the desired outcome by waiving the fees. So if our desired outcome of people are coming, you know, that's one thing. I know sometimes employees just park, and now nobody has to put money in the meter. So I know we've been doing it, but I think we need to revisit what our financial loss is and whether we have the desired outcome by waiving the fees. So I don't know, how do we move forward on that to figure that out?
Well, we track the parking revenue every year, and we take a look at it. I know that in December, the council waives the parking fees, so that to help attract shoppers to our stores. And I'm not, you know, we would have to do an analysis, because I'm not sure. This is a one-day event?
2 day.
2
Friday-
days.
2 or
Friday,
3, I
Saturday.
think it was, isn't it Friday through Sunday?
Friday, Saturday, 2 days.
Okay. I don't know. Do we, You know, we just have to do, we have to do some kind of an analysis, so we can break it down. We know what our revenue was over the last several years. We can break it down by day and just do some kind of statistical average, but we haven't done that.
So are you asking us to table this?
No, I think we should vote on it, but I think that going forward, like I know we do it again in December, I think that we should look at it critically and see if this is something
Okay,
we want to continue.
Yeah, I believe it's something that
Perhaps
most
our-
towns.
perhaps
But in December, it's gonna be hard to figure out because we've been doing free parking for how many?
Many years.
Yeah, so we can't, there's nothing to compare it to. We don't know how many people come in December to, if it's more, how much more it is than normal, so it's,
What about the summer?
the summer we could, but for December parking, it's gonna be impossible because we
Okay.
don't know.
But if we're going to vote on it tonight, we'll vote on it tonight, but we want to look at the numbers before we do this again.
And plus, I park my car down there for free, and I sleep there, and I can afford to stay there. That's my.
Okay, so, can we vote now? Is there anybody else who has any comment? If not, go ahead, Charles.
I'd like Mr. Volsi to help me out here with 192, 193, 194, and 195. So I know, I see the streets there. Any background you'd like to give, number one? And number two, could we make sure that the impacts to the residents, they're informed, whatever work is gonna be done in these areas, you know, so we get out in front of that, so we can get, for example, you know, like we're doing work on Engle Street right now. And it's a heavy lift every day. They gotta get people to move their cars up at Engle Street. So I wanna make sure that people are aware, so they take the appropriate actions taken place by the residents to get off these streets and things of that nature.
Part of what we try and do with every road project, especially when we do roads within residential neighborhoods, is just advise the property owners beforehand. The contractor typically goes through a week beforehand and just puts notices in everybody's door so that they know what's going to take place. Again, emergency vehicles are always allowed to go through. If someone has a special need, we'll work with them as well. But typically, when you're milling and paving, we try and limit the amount of vehicles that go back and forth through the work zone. It's a safety precaution for both the residents and the contractor. At the end of every day, the road should be clean, and everyone should have access to their driveway again. No driveway is going to be left closed unless for some reason there's a special need or a special situation where a driveway has to be ripped apart. But again, that usually takes they usually take care of that as quickly as possible, so we don't inconvenience the residents any more than we have to. In terms of these roads that are on here, in Thompson Avenue is just, you know, that whole area off of Lafayette there next to Denning, we've been trying to make sure that, you know, they not only have, you know, adequate drainage, but more and more become more and more ADA compliant. That's a big push throughout the state for all our roadways to become ADA compliant, so that's part of what we're doing there. We've actually started doing some of the roadways there in the past. Thompson Avenue is sort of left over from that project, so we're completing that.
Let me ask you this, would it make sense to do that at the same time you do Lafayette after, because Thompson Avenue runs right into Lafayette, and so in that area?
Thompson Avenue runs right to Lafayette.
Where the construction is there, because what will happen is.
The only,
Get pushed to-
it makes sense in terms of construction-wise. The only limitation I have is both those projects have grants tied to them, and both the grants have different deadlines. So I kind of have to finish those projects just to meet the grant deadlines for those particulars. So they're going to be staggered, not the greatest. Not sure who's going to get the Lafayette project. Could be two different contractors, hate contractors to work, you know, on top of each other. But we're going to try and make sure. I mean, we all know the monster that's happening on Tejan, so we're worried about that as well. So that's one concern that we'll have. But everyone will have sufficient notification, et cetera, before we even start the work there. In terms of the other, West Street is basically phase 2 of the West Street improvement. We did the first section a couple years ago between Demarest and Slocum. We're just doing Demarest and Tallman right now. So it's just the second phase of West Street. Again, there's a grant tied to that project as well. The 2023 road improvement program is our daily, I shouldn't say daily, our yearly road improvement project. This project has 7 roads in it, but it's a little less in terms of quantity, when you compare it to our other road project. And that's mostly because of all the utility work that's going on in town. We did not want to mill and pave roadways that the utility companies were going to come back and tear up because they're in the process of upgrading their infrastructure. So we scaled back a little bit. We spoke to the utility companies. We sort of identified the roads they weren't going to touch, and we sort of prioritized those as to which ones we could get done under this year's road project.
Historically, we've been fixing streets, and the utility or the sewer people come behind us, and they tear up these brand new streets. Are we in jeopardy as we move forward to beautifying our streets?
Well, what's happening in town now is to limit that. If you drive through town, I'm sure all of you have at this point, it's a war zone. The utility companies are replacing all their lines. They're upgrading all their utility services and utility lines. So that will help tremendously. And when we do our road projects, not for them to come back and rip it up. Because what happens now is whether or not we have a gas leak or not, or a water leak or not, we do a roadway, the vibration from the machinery when they're compacting the road, et cetera, just rattles the existing infrastructure and causes a leak. And so there's no way of advance notice or knowing if that's going to happen or not. So that's typically what happened in the past. With the new infrastructures in place, that should limit that. It should eliminate it altogether. So we don't anticipate having the same problem in the future. The rest of these are the same. Howard Place is a dead-end street off of Chester. It's between Grant and Dwight. We haven't touched that road in, God, 30 years. It really needs some work to be done. I know the residents there have really been complaining for quite some time. So we're gonna put that in there. The utility companies don't plan to be there at all. So we're gonna take the opportunity and get that done. After that, we have the rejection for the culverts. Again, part of our infrastructure. Critical in our drainage infrastructure to have the culverts completed. As many of you know, a lot of our culverts are in bad shape. A lot of them were gifted to us by the county years ago. So we're in the process of getting that taken place. Unfortunately, we only had one bid, and it was a little excessive in terms of price. So the goal is to rebid the project, reach out to more vendors, and hopefully get a more successful bidding process this time around.
Thank you very much, Franz. Excuse me, this is Franz Volsi, who is our city engineer. Okay. Can we have a motion now for the consent? We close this general.
I just noticed something on the bottom of one of the resolutions.
All right, come up.
Horace Hardbear, 51 West Hamilton Avenue, Englewood, New Jersey. I have a question. I mean, when we just talk about pay-to-play, I just noticed on one of the resolutions at the bottom of it says that the business entity disclosure and political contribution disclosure will be on file available for public inspection in the municipal clerk's office. Why doesn't that apply to all the rest of contracts? Because in the past, we've had, where we had discussed pay-to-play, we have that written on 19706-1323. Why doesn't it apply to all the rest of resolutions?
Well, I will ask, but thank you, Horace. It does apply to everyone, doesn't it?
Well, it depends on the
Oh,
dollar
if it ha-
amount.
if
It
it's
depends on
over-
the dollar amount of the contract.
Okay.
And it also depends on the type of the contract.
Okay, so did you hear what Mr. Hoffman said, Horace? Okay. All right, can we have a motion on the consent agenda?
So moved.
We have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Cobb?
Yes.
Councilman Rosenzweig?
Yes.
Councilman Wilson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wasatski?
Yes.
Council President Marin.
Yes. Okay, now we move on to resolutions for vote. This is the non-consent agenda. Yancy, when can people speak about this?
They don't.
Okay. There's no discussion on this. Okay, number 151-06-13-23. This is the Municipal Alliance Grant for fiscal year 2024. Do we have a motion? Do we have a motion?
So just a quick explanation why this was brought back. I know there's a document that says the deadline is December 16th. The actuality is we've passed deadlines. The county was kind enough to let us extend when they want this resolution back to them. If it's not approved by this meeting, we will more likely not get the Municipal Alliance Grant for fiscal year 2024.
Okay, I hope everybody heard that. Do we have a motion? This is on Municipal Alliance Grant for fiscal year 2024. Is there a motion? No motion?
So the grant, if I may, the grant is for $5,700. There's a
$5,700.
There's an in-kind portion, and then there's a cash match, but,
Okay, I'll ask one more time. Do we have a motion to pass this? Do we have a second? I second. Roll call.
Councilman Kopp?
Yes.
Councilman Rosenzweig?
Yes.
Councilman Wilson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wasatski?
Yes.
Council President Marin.
Yes. Okay, now we move on to 205-06-13-23. This is a resolution adopting an affirmative marketing plan for the city of Englewood. Any discussion? Do we have anybody who wants to?
Get some background on that, Mr. Bailey?
we'll start with Mr. Bailey, and
Sure.
then I'll chime in.
So what this resolution does is that it enables the city to adopt an affirmative marketing program for affordable housing. And what that is kind of what it says, marketing. And it's a strategy where once available housing units are available in Englewood or are going to be available, there needs to be publications in newspapers, but also notices have to go to, for example, the NAACP, the Latino Action Network, the Bergen County Housing Authority, Northeast New Jersey Legal Services, Bergen Urban League, and other nonprofit entities to get the word out that these units are available. This applies to what the state calls very low, and moderate income housing. So what this is again, this is also part of our agreement with the court that was approved by Judge Farrington, that the city would implement this to manage what's available and get the word out to people in terms of what's going to be available or is currently available in terms of very low, and moderate income housing.
And part of that goes to some of the questions that were asked before about some of the data points, because there's a percentage of the very low which is below the median income. There has to be 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, and 3-bedroom units that are available in these different categories. So.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else on the council want to comment on this?
So just with the numbering, I'm sorry, I didn't notice this before. This is actually resolution number 205, but the hard copy says 204. I know sometimes the numbering gets screwy. Just,
Yeah, numbered, on the agenda, it's the correct number. On the actual resolution, it's a typo.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
multi-page
that's
resolution should
that's
say
a typo.
205.
The number on the actual agenda is correct.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion because I believe this is part of the tracking process that we spoke about earlier, and it's very important that we're able to track how this information is being disseminated. It
Good.
is.
Do we have a second?
I second it.
Okay, roll call.
Councilman Kopp?
Yes.
Councilman Rosenzweig?
Yes.
Councilman Wilson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wasatski?
Yes.
Council President Marin?
Yes. Okay, now we move to 206-06-13-23. We tabled, we're going to table this item. Do we have to vote on that,
Yes,
Yancy?
you
or-
have to have a motion.
Yeah. Can we have a motion to table? Nobody?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
A second.
Okay. Roll call.
Councilman Kopp?
Yes.
Councilman Rosenzweig?
Yes.
Councilman Wilson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wasatski?
Yes.
Council President Marin?
Yes. Okay, 207-06-13-23, authorizing grant application for an LEAP grant.
Should I
Any
read it into the
discussion?
Should I read it into the record? This is what was provided.
Okay. Okay. The city clerk is going to read the explanation.
We don't, I don't think in our package,
Was that,
do we?
was it?
It was in the
Yes,
closed
not.
session packet. I need to go grab it.
207.
I have mine.
I have 208 and 209. I don't have 207. You have
We
207.
want everybody to hear what it is. That's why we're getting the hard copy to read. Thank you.
So resolution number 207, is that where we're at?
Do you have it?
207-06-13-23. This is the LEAP grant.
Okay, this is resolution, sorry, the title's also different. Resolution authorizing the submittal of a joint application with the Township of Teaneck to the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs Local Efficiency Achievement Program, LEAP Implementation Grant Program. Whereas the state of New Jersey has appropriated $10 million for shared services and school district consolidation study and implementation grants to assist local units with the study, development, and implementation of new shared and regional services. And whereas the Department of Community Affairs Division of Local Government Services, DLGS, is tasked with administering these grant funds through the Local Efficiency Achievement Program, LEAP, and whereas LEAP implementation grants exist to support costs associated with shared service implementation to ensure that meaningful efficiency-generating initiatives are not hindered by short-term transitional expenses, and whereas the City of Englewood and the Township of Teaneck propose to enter into a shared services agreement but face certain expenses associated with implementation that present a burden to the local units, and whereas the purpose of the shared services agreement is to combine Department of Public Works facilities, which will benefit the residents of both participating local units, and whereas the City of Englewood is committed to completing the shared services project with the Township of Teaneck, and whereas the Township of Teaneck has agreed to be the lead agency in this program and will submit the application to DLGS on behalf of all participating units. Excuse me. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Englewood that the City of Englewood does hereby join with the Township of Teaneck in applying for an LEAP implementation grant in the amount of $400,000 to support implementation of the shared services and authorizing the city manager to take all required steps needed to effectuate these purposes.
Would you like to say something?
Sure. So, Council President, if you'd like, this is a resolution to investigate looking at some shared services between the City of Englewood and the Township of Teaneck. It would involve some specialty equipment. It would involve other things, but it's also involved looking, does it make sense to house both DPW fleets in the same location? And then if that makes sense, what has to happen what changes would have to be made to make that feasible. And so that's part of what this is. It would pay for the analysis of, with engineers and architects, and it does not bind the city to, or the Township of Teaneck to move forward, but it investigates the feasibility of taking a look at the cost of equipment, the cost of sharing equipment, the cost of space, and other things of that nature. So,
Okay, so does anyone else have any comment on the LEAP grant, which is basically to pay for the planning?
Why don't we ask Tina to be better neighbors on Webster and Decatur first?
Okay, this has to do with shared services. Okay, do we
Julia,
have?
I think-
I'm gonna make a motion.
and I think,
You're- Okay,
I wanted to make a comment
No,
before
I
the
think we have to
motion.
make a motion and second before we comment.
okay.
asked about
We have a
discussion.
motion, do we have a second, and then you can speak, Kevin. Do we have a second?
I second it.
Okay, Kevin, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Just to be clear, that this is a feasibility study, if you will. And I would hope that the feasibility study would include our transfer station,
it does.
because that would be a huge help. I mean, yeah, okay, Tina, but I'm more concerned
us.
about Englewood. And if we're having a study that's going to involve our DPW, I just want to be just as transparent as possible, that it's so important that we look into that transfer station.
Yes, because that is a key portion of the analysis.
Charles?
Listen, I think we had a discussion earlier tonight around this, and I was very clear that I was not happy with Teaneck's behavior on Alfred Avenue. What I really, and then the reading, when Yancy read this, what popped in my mind is that it said Teaneck will take the lead. In Englewood, I think we should take the lead. And here's why, Mr. Hoffman. We have a full-service DPW. They do not. And I believe we should lead because everything is coming to Englewood.
You're right.
I'd rather us be the leaders in this. I believe we're capable of doing this. I believe that our staff is up to the challenge, and I believe Teaneck needs to follow. If they want to do this deal, as far as getting my support, I'll support going after the grant, but I believe we need to change the wording and say Englewood will lead because we are a full-service community. We have a full-service DPW, and they're going to use our transfer station, our yard, and all that. I think that we should be able to control that, the action. You, Mr. Jenkins, and the staff in Englewood should be tasked with that challenge and leading that challenge. That's my opinion on that. And I don't know if we have the time to change the wording. If we do, I vote to change the wording because I believe that's us. It seems like we're providing everything.
I agree. Is there a reason why it says that Teaneck?
We're providing everything, so I believe that we're not getting a fair cut at this thing.
We can change the resolution so it says we take the lead. It's just the deadline to apply for the grant is June 30th.
Okay.
They had offered to
If we can
do
change-
that.
If we can change that,
Yeah.
then I support, but we have to lead this.
Okay, do we have to vote to change the wording? Because I feel very strongly about that.
No, we'll just change it.
Right, you haven't approved anything yet, so there's
Okay, so
nothing
we
to
can just
amend, so to
change it.
speak, so you just change it
Yeah.
and then vote.
You're absolutely right, Charles.
You know,
It's not
and-
like an ordinance.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, Council President, just as a point of order, so that, to make sure everybody knows that these conversations have included our senior DPW staff, as well as our engineer, and myself, and then our counterparts. So this is not something that's being done in a vacuum.
Okay, okay. So, do we have a motion?
With the change.
We have a motion. Did we have a second? Okay, let's have a roll call.
With the amended language.
With the amended language.
I'm gonna write down, sorry. Councilman Cobb?
Yep.
Councilman Rosenzweig?
Yes.
Councilman Wilson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wasatski?
Yep.
Council President Marin?
Yes. Okay, it's 208061323, the appointment of the Englewood Housing Authority Commissioner.
Should I read it?
Hmm?
Should I read it? The public doesn't have a copy.
Oh, okay, please.
Resolution number 208, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Englewood, Bergen County, State of New Jersey, that the following appointment is confirmed to the Englewood Housing Authority for the following term. Catherine Glynn be appointed as a member to a 5-year term, unexpired, commencing June 14th, 2023, and expiring December 31st, 2027.
Okay. Discussion? Do we have a motion?
Discussion. Are we sure that, are there 2 or are there 3 positions available?
I believe there were 2 plus 1 from the governor.
Yes, there are currently 2 vacancies for the council to appoint, and 1 vacancy that's a governor's appointment.
Okay?
Okay, because I have a submission that I would like to make as well as Councilwoman Lisa Wowski wants to make as well. So I just wanted to.
You can still submit if there's still an opening.
Okay.
How do we make the recommendation to the governor's office? Does that?
Just saying.
So we need another recommendation for the governor.
We have 2, and then there's 1 with the governor.
Right.
Yeah.
I just told him that.
Jump, huh?
I just told him that.
No. I think they want to put the person into the governor's position.
Oh.
No. My recommendation is Mr. Lee.
Yeah, for the open one, so you just send that, we just put them on next meeting.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a space.
That's all, we put them on next time.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion.
I'm sorry. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call.
Councilman Kopp?
Yes.
Councilman Rosenzweig?
Yes.
Councilman Wilson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wasatski?
Yes.
Council President Marin?
Yes.
I'd like to make one recommendation. When we vote and put people on boards, I think it would be healthy that, before we do that, that the chairman of those boards are aware of this conversation happening, so they're not, at least they had the conversation with their cohorts to know that this is going to take place.
Charles, this information was sent, hopefully sent to them.
Well, I don't know, the chairman of, well, I'm just gonna say that one. That's all. I'm
But
just
it
saying
was
going
said-
forward, we
oh,
should just make sure that.
Okay.
I think the question is when somebody is submitted, we make sure that as the courtesy that they're
No
informed
problem.
as well. So, because they gotta work with these people.
I agree with you.
That's all. That's all
Okay,
I'm saying.
great. Okay, we'll now move to 209-06-1323, the appointment of the Board of Adjustment member. Any comments?
Should I read the resolution?
Yes, we'll have the resolution read.
Okay. Be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Englewood that the following appointment of the mayor is hereby confirmed. Suzanne Mullings be appointed as alternate number 4 to an unexpired term ending December 31st, 2023.
Okay, comment? Motion?
I make a motion.
Second?
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Kopp?
Yes.
Councilman Rosenzweig?
Yes.
Councilman Wilson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wasatski?
Yes.
Council President Marin?
Yes. Okay, we now move to resolutions for discussion. First,
What happened to did we move one out? Oh, okay.
what?
Well, we could talk about the
The
tennis courts.
I
Yeah.
believe that would be in this section,
Yeah.
wouldn't it?
okay.
Okay. So we're moving to resolutions for discussion. The first one is a resolution authorizing the appointment of municipal representatives to the Bergen County Community Development Regional Committee. Do we have any comments? Can we move on to the next item?
What's that? Yeah, there's 2. There's the home grant and then the block grant. It's
Okay, I'm going to move on unless someone has
Do you want
something.
me to explain, or Bob, do you want to explain?
Yeah.
As part of the CDBG application process, each municipality is allowed 2 representatives from the council and 2 representatives from the mayor. Just asking for the council at this point to let me know who they would like to represent the city on their
But I think
behalf.
they need to understand what that means, about going to Hackensack. And really, as we just got money from them, well, I actually just got the money from them to give to Bob to do Lafayette Place. You have to understand what that whole process is, going back and forth with the county block grant, arguing, the negotiating that you get. And if you don't show up and you miss those meetings, they can take the money away from us. But the money really is to help Franz and all the construction that we do.
Okay,
throughout the
who are our current members, Charles?
I, and it was Wayne Hayes.
Okay, so right now, we have to reappoint?
Yeah, but the
Can
next
you
year.
share that?
Huh?
Can you share it so everybody can hear you? Because it's important what you're saying. Can you
Yeah.
share it into the mic?
Yeah, what do you want me to say now?
Say exactly what you just said, because I don't think everybody heard you.
The block grant, myself and Wayne Hamer, we go to the county once a year, and there's monies that we obtain for the city of Englewood. For example, this year, we obtained, I think it's $147,000 to do Lafayette Place from Forest Avenue to Tejan Avenue. So every year, you have to go, you have to apply, and then you have to show up, and there's a big discussion, it goes back and forth, and you get a certain amount of dollars to help Franz Volsi and Mr. Hoffman do road projects. But you have to bid on it, you have to go out, and if you don't show up, you could lose out on the money. And if we don't use the money, they can take the money back from you. So it's always an idea to have a certain project that we want to do in the city of Englewood. So that's a discussion also, in different parts of Englewood. We identify projects and then we submit it, because what they'll do is they'll come out to the city and look at the places where we're talking about we need money for. For example, on Wilbur Street, the cutouts there, Franz had gotten money, and they came out and inspected to make sure it were ADA compliant. So we have a number of curb cutouts that are throughout the city that they gave us money for, that we're using now. I don't know, Franz, if you've used all the money yet, but these are things that we get, and this is based on our relationship with the county and going in and telling them this is what we need to get. So there, at some point this year, we'll have that conversation, and then for next year, we'll try to secure some more dollars for some more road work or curb work, things of that nature.
Okay, so in other words, we have to come up with appointees to this group. All right. Okay, the next item is the liquor license renewals for discussion.
So on the agenda of the next meeting will be the resolution renewing all the liquor licenses in the city. Most of them have responded back. We're just following up with some of the ones that are missing items to make sure they're on the agenda. There will be one that is an inactive license that has petitioned the director for a special ruling, 1239 ruling. So we're waiting on them as well.
Okay, thank you. Anyone have any comments on the liquor licenses? All right, authorizing the flag raising at Englewood Public Library for Remember the 400. Anyone want to speak to that? I'm not sure I know what that is.
I know that.
400 years.
No, but I think that we didn't get a copy of the request, so I
Yeah,
think
that's-
that, I guess we'll have to get a copy of the request, because the council needs to vote to approve it.
I think also when we do this, there should be a conversation about when we retire the flags and all of, and educating folks how we retire the flags. And because this year, before Memorial Day, there was an incident about retiring the flags on Forest Avenue at the American Legion, and folks didn't understand that somebody called the fire department and the police department about the retiring of the flags, not the burning of the flag, it's the retiring of the flag. And we collect the flags in honor of the veterans. So I had proposed to Mr. Hoffman, and I
Okay, so I believe we need to send information out to the council.
Yeah. So, thank you, because Councilman Cobb gave a very accurate description of part of the discussion for flags and the need to retire the American flags appropriately that are all over town that are tattered and no longer of service. And it's also kind of a good segue to remind everybody that tomorrow, June 14th, is Flag Day. I just thought of that, so that's good. This, the discussion for tonight, this is just for discussion. It'll be on the agenda for the June 27th meeting. This is a request that came from the library, and when I looked at the library bylaws, it says that the council must approve the requests for the use of the library flagpole and things of that nature. So we're trying to track down the original request from the organization for the 400 plus, so that the council can have it. But the library has asked that the council, somebody looked at their bylaws and said the council has to approve it, so that's why it's coming to the council. And when we do, we will track down the application and get it to the council for the next meeting.
Thank you.
Can you explain the 400 to Judith, Bob?
No, I wanted to, thank you.
She knows what it's about.
Always happy to be helped. I think we said we were going to discuss the Tryon Avenue pool. What?
No, the
Would you-
tennis.
Tennis.
Hold it.
Yeah. If you want, I can say
Yeah,
something about
please.
So the council there will be discussions with, at the next meeting about the Tryon pool lease, and there will also be discussions with our counterparts at the school district before we bring this back for action. But, so that's why the Tryon pool lease was removed from the agenda. And then the discussion now is about, there's a draft ordinance for consideration about the use of tennis courts and in the future pickleball courts, and whether there should be a fee for the use of it. But the genesis of this has to do with who's using our tennis courts. There was a couple Fridays ago where when the engineer and I were out doing a review of different areas, we stopped over at the tennis courts, and the 5 courts were occupied, but 4 of the courts were occupied by tennis pros who were from outside of Englewood, and they were using the courts for tennis lessons. And so people were, there was the potential for residents from Englewood not to be able to use the courts. So this is a discussion that's been going on with the governing body since last fall. So this is a draft so that the council can take a look at it. It's mirrored on the Fort Lee tennis court and pickleball ordinance, and it's the governing body will have the chance to comment on it, give us some suggestions, and so we can move forward. But the goal is to make sure that our courts are available for Englewood residents first, and then others afterwards. Right now, we do not have a mechanism on the books to have people leave the courts if they're not Englewood residents. So we did a search of our ordinances, and we don't have that ability at the moment.
Do we have signage
Thank
up
you.
there
Do we have signage up there?
at the tennis courts?
I don't think there's signs.
No.
No.
Franz, do you remember seeing signage over there? I don't.
What courts are you talking about?
The tennis courts.
The tennis courts.
Because some of them we don't know.
He's talking about Broad Avenue and McKay. We don't have
Yeah,
signs.
Cambridge, we don't know.
But they're ones by the stadium, we don't know. That's the Board of Education.
Board of-
Yeah,
yeah, Board of
this
Ed.
is over by
They have signage on it.
The Cambridge ones have sign, yeah.
They have signs.
Okay, but the ones,
We could just piggyback on their sign.
Yeah.
Well, we need the ordinance
Yeah,
to
well,
refer
yeah,
to
but
on the
what I'm
sign.
saying, we don't.
Yeah, so and thank you for pulling this. To me, that's priority number 1, to not have people not from Englewood on our courts so that Englewood residents are unable to use it. I think once we solve that, we can figure out if we want to set up a permit, an app. But right now, I think let's get the low-hanging fruit, which is, kicking people off the courts.
Yeah, and we need the people to police them.
Yeah, and then we need enforcement.
Well, we have
Going hand in hand with that would be an app where people can sign up for it, because where our residents can sign up for it. So that would eliminate a lot of that, quote, kicking off the court, because if you signed up on an app from 2 to 3 and you go there and there's a pro, then the pro would leave.
But who's going to kick the pro out?
Well,
That's what I'm saying.
Well-
If you don't have, go ahead.
So the
Open up a can of whoop ass.
the park rangers or the police have the ability to enforce an ordinance on the books. So in other communities, they are the people that
Right.
do that. So it's the police will be in the mix so long as we can prove that somebody is supposed to be on the court, and they're entitled to use the court. If not, whoever doesn't have the reservation can
Be
So
told to
park
leave.
rangers have the support system?
Yeah.
Excuse me?
Our park rangers now have the support system?
Not at the moment.
So
We're working on that, so there needs to be an app, and they need to get the schedule, so does the police, and so do other people. And the courts are used in the summer by our summer camps, and so they're reserved for the summer camps, and.
So, sorry, so this is for the council to talk, so, just some like, iteration questions. So let's say a pro is there with 4 students and one of them is a resident of Englewood. How would we manage that?
It's gotta be rented, it's gotta be
Well-
leased.
Well, but, yeah, I mean,
And this could be changed. The draft prohibits any revenue or income
Okay.
generating
Yeah, the pro is the one who
commercial
doesn't,
type of process.
yeah.
'Cause
you
this is
would-
a lot
Okay.
of towns are confronting this.
okay. All right, so how do we know if it's a professional relationship as opposed to, hey, this is my friend and I'm just playing with him?
Because I put in, and this is like, there's family passes, there's things like that which would have to be presented at the time upon request, if you don't have it.
It sounds like we have to develop this a little further.
Yeah.
Are we getting that much traffic there? Because,
Yes.
Yeah, we
Yes,
are.
we
I
are.
have to go to McKay Park every other day, and I haven't seen it.
This,
Wait,
Excuse me.
This is,
Okay, we have one more item.
wait, Judy, so, this is a big issue, so, if we're gonna need to put passes or permits for this to be effective, I would suggest we make them free, at least for the first few years, until we get the program off the ground. Well, we don't have, tennis passes now we don't have any current permit process. So
It could be
let's.
no fee.
Yeah, but then you just have to go through the process of getting the paperwork to register. But a fee, as Gordon Johnson taught me, a fee is a three-letter word for tax. So, and we pay enough taxes as it is. Just in the future, I know we took this from Fort Lee, we shouldn't use the phrase husband and wife going forward. Married couple is more appropriate, I think, especially during Pride Month. But I know these fees are very low, but they're so low they're not gonna balance the budget for us, and, let's just make it free until we see what the demand
The only
is.
thing is, do you want a fee for a non-resident guest pass, or do you want to allow guest passes?
I'm fine with that, but
Because that's a loophole then for.
Excuse me, what I said before unfortunately happens to be appropriate. We have work to do on this.
Yeah,
There are many,
yeah.
there are all kinds of issues involved, and in my opinion, the most important one is, I'm using the word policing in the general term, but we need someone to go and check to see who's using
Yeah.
the courts. So can we just say that we have to carry this over to another meeting and further develop the structure?
We have a park ranger. I think it's important that we support the systems that we have in place. if we have one park ranger and we're slotted for 3, let's give them all the support system that they need.
Right.
And if we're talking about a fee and usage of a park, hands down, Englewood residents go first.
Yes.
Hands down, when you're talking about out-of-town instructors or whomever else may want to use our beautiful facilities, they have to get in line.
Yeah, you know, I would just want to go, but Charles asked a question, you know, you asked about the usage. So, for example, on Broad Avenue, the courts, on Sunday, 4 of the 6 courts were being used by pros. During the week, this week, I don't remember, was today or yesterday I went by, 3 of them were being used by pros. So that it is a big issue. And I do have, you know, residents complaining they can't get on the courts. But in terms of what Mr. Wilson said, I agree, you know, no fees, but we have a permit system, we have a sign-up system. If enforcement is an issue, we could do Broad Avenue courts on the hour, we could do McKay courts on the half hour, so that our park rangers, you know, could go at those times to make sure that there are no issues, and we can have a phone number for people to call if there is an issue, and hopefully very quickly people will understand how to use our courts.
My biggest concern with this is, and I'm in the park every other day, McKay Park, is that, you know, first come, first served. That's the way it's been. That's the way it should be for the residents. No resident, we shouldn't be paying taxes again or paying for permits to go in the park and play. And what will happen is, if we take that approach, my concern is that the next thing we'll say, okay, we're gonna do this with Little League, we're gonna do this with basketball, that'll be the next thing. We have to really, this is really sensitive, or soccer fields, because people are just playing. I mean, we want to encourage people to use the soccer fields. We want to encourage them to use the basketball field. I mean, listen, if that's the case, and we take that approach, Tenafly took that approach against people from Englewood a while back, and that wasn't good. You know, people wanted to Tenafly when they said, no, you can't do that. So I mean, it's a public park for a reason. I think that if we are having things with pros, I think that that's a separate issue in itself. If you're a pro and you give them out lessons, then you need to rent the court. Professional people, they shouldn't have the ability to occupy a court for free with their students or whatever. No, that's something that has to be arranged with the city. If they're not, then we should enforce that. People who are making means and professionals to use our facilities, that they shouldn't be able to do that. But residents should be first come, first served.
You can't, you know, like, we can't do that. If I want a baseball game, I need a permit for, don't we need permits for baseball fields? Don't we need permits for soccer fields?
No.
Sure you do.
People playing on that.
Right, the teams do.
Only if it's teams.
The
But
teams do.
If I went out there in McKay Park right now, tomorrow, and played on the field, I don't need a permit. And what I'm saying is that if you have people who are professionals, who are giving out lessons, that should be an arrangement with the city, whether we want to do that or
Right,
not.
well, that
But
we
I
all
think
agree on.
Because, you know, what I would say to you is, everybody in Englewood has the same rights as everybody else, at least they should have, to go to a field and show up and play. Those are the residents. And the residents shouldn't be taking backseat to somebody who's teaching classes or whatever.
Right, and that we all agree on. But if
We-
I
we
want to
agree
go,
with that,
but if I want to go swimming, can I just walk into the pool to go swimming, or do I need to buy a
What I'm
pass?
saying to you is.
I think,
That's right. All I'm
okay,
saying is-
I think we need more discussion,
Right,
and
but
we
I'm-
have
I'm
to
saying
develop.
The residents should have first shot at everything, free. And I'm saying if somebody is really taking advantage of the courts up there by, Rock Creek, then we should be speaking to them and saying, if you're professionals, you have to rent this, or you can't do that. And that seems to be the problem.
That
You
we
know what
all
you're saying?
agree on.
Right,
That
so
we
then
all
that's
agree
how
on.
we should handle it.
Okay, but
And
we-
not disenfranchising the residents.
The residents come first. Bob, did you want to say something?
This is, yes, Madam Chairman, this has all been fruitful, and then we've got some notes, but if you could send me some email, if you have other comments and want to send me an email, we'll incorporate
Okay.
that into an update. And when our recreation director and I meet
Okay.
to work out the details, I'll include that.
So we'll look forward to
Future.
seeing the revised resolution. Okay, items for discussion, we have, I think, Barb, you're going to have to talk about this, the ARPA funds.
Okay, yes, thank you, Council President. The ARPA funds, as they're known, are funds that were given to the city during during COVID-19. The city has approximately $2.9 million in ARPA funding, and the funds must be allocated and spent by December 31st of 2026. So the council received a memo from me earlier today. We've had some internal discussions in May about what's the best use of those funds, because realistically, with the long lead times for some of the equipment that we could potentially be purchasing, the funds have to be encumbered this year. So the council, so what we're recommending that the council consider is that we use a significant portion of the funds to make improvements at the library. The library is open 64 hours a week, so that's the facility that serves the public, more residents than any of our other facilities because of the amount of hours that it's open. They need a new boiler and HVAC unit. There's some ductwork that could be improved. There's other things that our engineer has identified. So that's one of the areas that we would like to make improvements to. There are also improvements that would be required to our pumping stations. We have 4 pumping stations. 3 are sanitary sewer pumping stations. 1 is for stormwater. They each are supposed to have 2 pumps. The pumps 3 years ago cost approximately $50,000 apiece. So we're looking at purchasing 1 pump for each of the pumping stations, and then we would recondition the older pumps and put them in reserve, because you're supposed to have 2 pumps. You're supposed to rest 1 pump just to help extend the life. But this way, this is something that would help all of our residents. And I should let everyone know that the funding is supposed to be used for improvements that benefit as many of our residents as possible. So we were looking at what provides the best bang for the dollar, what's the most cost-effective way of doing it. But there's also a component for public health. We're supposed to be improving the public health by investing with these funds. So that's why we were looking at the pumping station and improving the library facility. The council had also authorized a few years ago an inflow and infiltration study of our stormwater and sanitary sewer systems. So there are areas that have been identified as being in need of replacement before there's breaks. So we would look to replace the pipes in those areas. And then there's Franz. What else am I missing? It's yeah. So.
You want the projects to be as wide range of scope as possible, meaning the more people they affect, the more we want to look at those types of projects. The pump stations are ideal. The library, we looked at all our facilities and thought the library is the most used in terms of not only every day, but it's a heating center in winter, it's a cooling center in the summer. So it's utilized not just as a library, it's used as a resource for any of the residents. So it's those kinds of projects that we have to look at. In the health department, we're going to do some upgrading of the health department as it is. So that's one of the areas that I looked at as well. But the goal is to look at big projects that are impacting as many people as possible. And it just doesn't have to be drainage, like again, facilities, anything we can think of, but we need to move sort of quickly on this, you know, in terms of getting the funds, you know, allocated as to what we're gonna be doing with this, et cetera. Before you know it, it'll be 2026, and we don't wanna risk losing that funding.
What about some of those roads that have zero storm drains?
That's those are all in the running. Overpack, those are all in the running.
What about that, right there near Drury Avenue is where, right there by the school? Where
Yep.
everything is falling in,
Yes.
putting a retaining wall or something.
Yes.
Yeah. I think we got plenty of places.
We have some projects that we're aware of that can definitely benefit from this.
Yeah.
The goal is trying to get them down in the books as quickly as possible so we can start moving forward with the grant.
Yeah, and the goal was also to look and see where can we use these funds where there isn't the opportunity to have grant funding come from another source.
Right.
So to do that, and we were looking at, okay, how do we improve the public health with that? And Franz, one of the things I left out was the bathrooms, looking at,
Yeah.
you know, if we had additional looking to see if we can improve the bathrooms at the library as well as City Hall and in some of our parks and our, you know.
ADA compliance is not just for, I mean, I mentioned the ADA compliance for the roadway, but a lot of our a lot of our buildings, unfortunately, because of the age of the buildings, a lot of them aren't ADA compliant. The elevators aren't, we don't have, a lot of them have stairs only to go to certain floors. So there's a lot of things that we can look at to improve. So it's important that we really, try and focus as to what the best means is to use this money that we have available.
Could you just reiterate the fact that going for this grant is not going to interfere with the library being a cooling station for the community?
No, it's not. As a matter of fact,
I just don't want anyone to go home with the idea that because we're applying for the grant, that the library will not be a cooling
No,
station.
we have the money already.
No, I know,
Yeah,
but I
but
don't want people thinking they can't go
the
because
goal
it's
is, regardless of the improvements we're gonna make, regardless of the facilities, the goal is not to close that facilities down. That facility is still gonna be in usage. If anything, we'll do it in stages if we have to make sure that every facility stays open and functioning year-round.
Terrific.
Yep.
Thank you
Bob,
very much, Franz.
so I would recommend to try to get this done by mid-2025. With the debt ceiling crisis, there was talk about, taking these funds away, and the debt ceiling's been approved for 2 more years. There might or might not be a new presidential administration, so let's just get this done before the next crisis that comes on the
Yeah,
book.
thank you, because that was part of our discussion. We had these discussions at the end of April and the beginning of May, and I was concerned that in the current round with the debt crisis, this might be money that would be taken back by the federal government, but our goal is to encumber these funds before the end of the year.
Okay.
Because some of the equipment may take a year, 9 months to a year to order, so.
Yeah, that mechanical equipment is,
Yeah.
okay.
Thank you.
We are now ready, unless there's someone else that has, okay, we're ready now to consider bills and claims. It's Resolution 210-06-13-23, the approval payment of bills and claims. And I guess we'll have the motion and then any discussion on the council. Can I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Second.
Okay. Any conversation? Go ahead, Charles.
Mr. Hoffman.
Yes.
I mean, Mr. Kaufman, rather. On page 2, almost halfway down, our favorite subject, FEMA, item $24,075. They charge us a fee for that, or is that,
Yeah, it will get reimbursed though.
we're gonna get reimbursed on
Yeah.
that as always?
Yeah.
Okay, what did they do for us now? What are they doing
They work with Franz a lot more than me on that, so he could.
Okay, so what are they doing for us?
Millennium is sort of the go-between between ourselves and FEMA, et cetera, in terms of actively pursuing, whether it be grants, monies, et cetera. It is a long, tedious process that takes more time than I believe it should, but unfortunately, it is what it is. We've been on the phone for hours at a time with FEMA, so.
So, let me ask you this, Millennium charges us $3,500 on top of whatever they get. Are we getting our money's worth?
Yes, we've gotten quite a bit of grants. I'd say we've gotten more grants this past year than I've seen in quite some time.
They've been very helpful.
Yes, they've been helpful in securing grants, yes.
That's,
Yep.
okay. As long as you
That
feel
I have
that
to say.
way.
Most of my road projects are covered with grants.
So we are approving.
We're getting our money's worth so far, yes,
So it's a good resource.
so far, yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure that.
If it changes, I'll let you know.
Yep.
Okay, I mean, listen, $3,500, no matter if we get it,
That,
right, you know what I'm saying?
I hear you, I understand.
Okay, appreciate it, thank you.
You know, one of the things, they're a force multiplier, because if we didn't have Millennium Strategies, France's time would be completely monopolized by FEMA. There's these Monday afternoon phone calls that we have both been participating in, and now the Millennium Strategies people are following up, and there's constant changes from FEMA. It is a very frustrating process, and that's, yeah.
I have one more question, so, and I guess you, Mr. Hoffman and Hoffman, can answer that in the threes. So, over the last couple of years, we've been messing with that fire door down there, fire station.
Oh,
So I see we just paid $77,000 for repair. So I noticed that we took that big door and we cut it in half. Now we make 2 doors out of it. Is that what that repair is? That's
Yes,
$77,000?
yes. Essentially what happened is the big door was just way too heavy for the motors. We tried changing the motors and they just kept clunking out. So what we ended up doing is putting smaller doors there. They're still completing it. There's one door for some reason is not quite aligning the right way, so they're in the process of finishing that. But that's essentially what it is.
Are the people who put the original door in, and that's the ones putting back this other door?
No, this is a totally separate contractor, a totally separate vendor. Yeah, I don't think I could.
I know we spent a lot.
Yeah.
How much money did, I mean, you don't know.
Off the top, but it was
We spent a lot of money since
enough.
that door.
It was, yes. It's been a pain in the behind.
and not only that, Charles, you know, remember my recollection is we've sent this out to bid a couple of times and been disappointed with the return. Never mind, it's okay.
I mean, as you know, this door was critical. I mean, we've gotten, complaints from the chief where during emergencies, the door's getting stuck where they have to go through the back and set. So this was a real problematic. So it had to get done. It had to get repaired.
Yeah, I just said $77,000. I just looked at that and said,
We went a different direction in using a different door.
It's essentially the same door, smaller. We replicated one of the smaller doors that were there before. So those doors work perfectly. It was literally the size and the weight of the big door that just made it impossible to use.
what's that door made out of, fiberglass?
Actually, it's made out of metal.
It's a metal door.
It's a metal door.
It's a metal door. They
It's a
are
metal
heavy.
door. It's heavy.
During emergencies, you have to use a chain.
That fiberglass thing, so,
Yeah, this is metal. This is heavy duty stuff.
Does anyone else have any question on the bills list? Do we have any questions? Okay, Yancy, roll call?
Councilman Kopp?
yes.
Councilman Rosenzweig?
Yes.
Councilman Wilson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wasatski?
Yes.
Council President Marin?
Yes. Okay, now going to open the public session. Once again, speakers are invited to speak. We need your name, your address, your issue, questions or comments, and what we'll do is try to answer things after everyone has spoken. You have 3 minutes.
Good evening.
Welcome.
Sherlina Hobson, Oakland Street. I'm beyond frustrated. Mr. Hoffman, you came to my home. Mr. Volsi came to my home. Charles Cobb came to my home. This sub pump situation, I see that this woman, this family, I should say, is just getting away with this. Something was stated to them, nothing's been done. That pipe is still not on my neighbor's sub pump pipe to empty out into the street. There are 3 storms coming up this week, okay? I had a long discussion with Mr. Volsi, okay? I'm not coughing up $3,000 for no friggin' permits, all right? It seems like you all seem to have a lot more concern about tennis courts and pickleball courts. But when a taxpayer that I am, living, born, raised, and educated right here in Englewood, has a situation, just taken lightly. Let some of this water be in some of y'all's backyards. Mr. Hoffman, you saw what it looked like. Mr. Volsi, you saw what it looked like. Mr. Cobb, you saw what it looked like. And I sent all of y'all pictures of it, okay?
You did.
Yeah, I know I did. But nothing has been done. I understood and stood there and watched and heard that neighbor being told to have an accordion pipe put on their sub pump pipe coming out their home. It's still not there. That neighbor has put, oh, it's there now?
It's there.
Oh, so it got put there then today, because I've been working all week. So it got put there today, because she has a garbage can blocking her walkway so nobody can see it. So it got put there today. But do you know how long I had to fight for this? 5 years. Now, had it been me, on the flip side, y'all would have fined me. And y'all would have put the pipe on this woman's house. I shouldn't have to stand up here and complain about that. But I did. For what, 5 years?
Good evening. My name is Doreen Mangar. I live at 73 Glenbrook Parkway. And I'm wondering, why am I paying tax? My property right now value is 0. My property value is 0. With sewer, laundry, rainwater, flooding, everything, day after day. And I told you the last time, it's a ghetto. It is. And I'm going to start behaving like ghetto people like Rick soon. Trust me.
It's okay.
I live in 3 third world countries. Never had that problem. This is my American nightmare right now. Mr. Hoffman, you visit me, sir. And Mr. Cobb, I'd like to know what's being done about my situation. Mr. Volsi, you didn't visit me, did you? Oh. I heard it was rain, it's no rainwater.
We're going to wait to give everyone a chance.
Okay.
And then, he's not going anyplace. He's
Okay,
gonna-
thank you.
Okay.
So right now, my property has 0 value, and I shouldn't be paying tax to the city at all, none whatsoever. I'm hoping my problem is solved very soon. Storm is coming, 3 of them coming. I don't want to be flooded out again, not again. And I'm tired looking every morning. I'm sick with that laundry water running in front of my property. I have evidence right now. I put it on Facebook. I'll do anything I have to do to get rid of that. Thank you.
All right, good night again. My name is Lynn James. I live at 87 Matlock Place. I live at the Victoria Manors condominiums, the 4 units on that corner. I am the first unit on that corner. I noticed today a hidden driveway sign was put up, which we've been asking for the last 3 years, so thank you for that. In the last 3 years that I've lived there, we've had multiple accidents on that corner. So that's the corner of Matlock and Englewood Avenue. There is a police surveillance on the corner across the street from that business complex. However, as cars come around that corner, it is increasingly difficult for me to back out of my driveway. There is a stop sign on the corner of Matladge, but there is no stop sign on the corner of Englewood. And so they've had 2 accidents already where cars are coming around that corner really fast. They're not stopping and they run into one another. There's also been an accident where a child was hit on a bike. There's also been an accident where a couple of cars were parked on the side and a vehicle ran into them overnight and just sped off. And so we are asking that someone either does surveillance or look at to see what's happening on that corner, to either put in an additional stop sign or have no one park directly next to a couple of these driveways, because as I am pulling out of my driveway, I have to go into the other side of the street if somebody's parked directly in front of my house, and I was told it is a parking spot, and if cars are blocking me, I can call the police. I have done that a couple of times, and I've had a car towed because I cannot pull out of my driveway if somebody's parked directly in front of my driveway. It is a dangerous corner. And like I said, I've only been there for 3 years, but in those 3 years, multiple accidents, a hit and run, and also cars have been hit on that corner as well. I have a camera directly in front of my house, and when these accidents happen, people always come and ask me, can I get surveillance from your house as to what's happening on that corner? But my camera only faces my driveway, so I can't give anybody any information, but I think the city of Englewood needs to do something about that corner in particular. So I'm asking that you guys come out. If it's the engineer, which I learned about today, please come by and look to see what's happening. The heaviest traffic patterns is happening between 3 and 6 in the evening, and again at 7 and 8 in the mornings on weekdays. That's where you get the heaviest patterns. And just one last thing, due to the fact that I have a camera in front of my home, I'm sorry, I am getting at least, and which is fine, but I'm getting at least so much traffic as far as pedestrians walking in front. So on a day-to-day average, I have about maybe 50 pedestrians walking in front of my house. And if that's the case, then they're also at risk of being hit by a car. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Rick Wilby, 289 Plantation Way. Is there a fee for using this mic? Okay, I just want to make sure. So anyhow, I want to thank everybody that came out to the press conference where we announced the federal lawsuit against the city of Englewood for the wrongful death of Bernard Placide Jr., members of POP, People's Organization for Progress, National Action Network, the attorney Eric Kleiner, Reverend Herbert Daughtry, Brother Zahid Muhammad, other members of, the group that has been advocating with Merlene and her family for the wrongful death of her son. And some of the things that we've learned is completely disturbing. And some of the information that we've learned right now from this lawsuit being filed, this is something that you guys should all read and understand. After Officer Sharp murdered Bernard, you're talking about a 5-minute ride to Englewood Hospital, and Bernard was handcuffed and was left to die in his bedroom, in his house, someplace where he should be safe. So while we come to these council meetings and people talk about things that have no relevance in life, the black community is actually dealing with matters of life and death from people that are so-called protected and serving. Rather than rendering aid to try to preserve Bernard's life, your officer ran out of the room and did nothing to save this young man's life. It is egregious nonetheless, and it is something that we need to change in Englewood. Furthermore, I've had several conversations with several people on this council about this officer that tased Bernard, Officer Havlicek. He is completely out of control. This guy is a white supremacist, and he is a piece of human shit. This is what he is. He has been doing things. No, let me finish. This is my constitutional right There's nothing wrong with saying the word shit.
Say-
The guy's a piece of shit, let me reiterate. And this council is going to pay out even more and have even more lawsuits if the Englewood Police does not rein these racist cops in. The police chief was just here earlier. He left. I was hoping that he would stay. You know, Judith Marion, you live in a world where you don't even understand what 400 years of suffering that black people have suffered. So spare me. You have to get up to date. You have no idea what it is to be in a country that stole the workforce, that built this place, and people like you that come in here and tell us about your suffering, but you don't even understand about other people's suffering. Within your own community, you don't even understand the experiences that people have suffered in the Third Ward and in your own community while you claim to walk around town. We have a very unique problem. Gentrification is a very unique problem. What happened to Bernard is very unique. What continues to happen here in
Thank you very
Englewood
much,
with no reparations whatsoever is very unique to us. And whether you like it or not, we're going to continue to come back here and speak truth to power and say what needs to be said by any means necessary.
Amy Bullock, Howland Avenue. I'm going to touch on two topics. One, just to piggyback with some information off of Rick's comments around affordable housing versus low-income housing. I'll share some data on Englewood and the poverty rate. So Englewood has an 11.6% poverty rate. It's higher than Bergen County. It's higher than the average for New Jersey. We have 4,294 residents, or 15.8% of the population under the age of 18 fall below the poverty line. It disproportionately affects the city's Black, African American, and Hispanic population, with the percentage of those falling under the poverty line in these communities rising above 12%, 12.8% Black, African American, and 13.9% Latino, respectively. 4.1% of the overall population is unemployed. 11.4% of the population does not have insurance coverage. 10% of the population has less than a high school degree, even though the median household income in the city is $85,000. These are some stats for you guys so that you can understand when people come in here and they talk about affordable housing versus low-income housing. The community that needs this is here, whether you want to acknowledge that or not. There are people in need. And as leadership, you have an obligation to do what you can to provide for them. I'm going to talk about this McKay Park revitalization project. And I have some questions or concerns. So I took a look at the city website, and I put in an Oprah for the rental contracts. Based on this information, the public has access to the rink 30% of the time. 70% of the time, it's going to renters. So are we doing this for the community, or are we doing it for the people renting the facility? At the end of the day, after the grant, 1.2, 300 from Tryon, another 100 pending, the taxpayers have to pay $831,800 to do this. I have concerns about that. I have concerns about what was reported as community input. 94 paper surveys, 94 online surveys, 29 paper surveys. 123 people speak for 29,000, because I got a petition for a community center with 2,500 signatures, so when we start that conversation. Now, I'm concerned about the survey because, one, it was available online at the city's website and through social media. A lot of people are not online. A lot of people are not on social media. And I found it interesting that the 29 paper surveys that were attached to the grant application were all in Spanish. And who were these given to? Were they distributed to churches? Were they distributed to the schools to take home to parents? Where did we get these surveys from? How did these people get paper copies? So these things are concerning to me because it does not look like there was an earnest effort to get community input, aside from the fact that the public hearing was embedded in a council meeting versus being a standalone forum to discuss the future of McKay Park. And history has shown when we hold standalone forums for people to come out and give input on things that are important to them, the attendance is way greater than the council meeting. So did we really try to get the temperature of the community around this situation with McKay Park? I don't think so. 123 people do not speak for 29,000. Not a good margin of error on that.
Amy, thank you.
Hello. Hello. I don't know which one's the better one.
The one with the fee on it.
Taller one. Hello, Diane Jansen, Ridgeland Terrace. First, I just want to pause for Bernard Placide. I read the lawsuit. I am hoping every one of you read that lawsuit. It is scary. It is scary. God forbid that happens to anybody else. And I hope we pay out on it. Because if you watch the videos and you look at the suit, the council has not done what it should have done. And we're waiting now for the Attorney General. Let's see what happens there. The next thing I would like to talk about is something that Amy touched upon. We had a Liberty School forum for a community center. This council was packed. There was not outreach to the Spanish community, but the Black community and other members of the community that were not Black showed up. It was loud and clear, a community center is wanted. How can you put in a pickleball court, but you can't go forward on a community center? It's mind-boggling. How can you not bring people together in a diverse, supposedly progressive community that's crying for unity? How can you, the council, be divisive? And then when it comes to talking about who's paying for courts, I will remind members of this council that they fought against MAWA because MAWA wanted to limit non-residents from coming into their parks. We need to look at who paid for those courts and whether or not we can do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane.
Lucy Walker, Washington Place, Englewood. I've been here now several times. It is very disturbing when I come and a young Black man or Black, brown, or whatever brings something they are concerned about. And then I'm watching a video and this same young man is standing like this. Is this a threatening position? I don't hear anybody. Is this a threatening position? No. I watched a video and that man was basically standing and what it said to me was, handcuff me with dignity. Why do the Black men always have to be put on the ground with their faces on the concrete or in the dirt? That man was standing in submission. But that same policeman that he complained about in front of you struggled with him, fought with him, told him to stop resisting, and he was not resisting until they finally got him on the ground. Why did he have to go on the ground? Why couldn't he have been handcuffed while he was standing on his feet? Now, I run a group on Facebook, It's a protest group. And the police post there all the time. And I challenge them every single time. You expect me to think you're so great? It doesn't even say protect and serve on your automobile anymore. And you have to put that man on the ground? And he was giving up? And then you say, stop resisting, don't resist. He wasn't resisting. In the 60s, if you didn't want to get shot, you did this. And what else does that look like? Jesus on the Christ, right? On the cross. So if you stand like that, you're going to be put on the ground, your face in the dirt. Why? Because he came here and complained that he was being harassed, and the very man that was harassing him had to put him on the ground and struggle with him to put him on the ground. He wanted to be handcuffed with dignity. I didn't hear anyone reading him his rights either. I didn't hear no one say that he was arrested either. And you sit here and you listen and you don't say anything to the police about this? Come on. This may even be a reason why there are 7 votes between you. Because folks decided not to vote after they saw that. You have to think about that, really. Now, the park. There's a buildable lot on Elmo Avenue. I have the paperwork from the county. McKay's son and daughter donated that space as an interest to the park forever. Okay? Do you want people to continue to donate you money so you don't? Come on. The buildable lot on Elmo Avenue. If you walk inside, you see there's a gate where the bridge has been taken down, like all the bridges to the west.
Could you please wrap up? You're past 3 minutes.
Okay, Judy, I am.
You've said enough.
I'm sure I have, dear.
Matt Dragon, West Orange, New Jersey. I wanted to use this time to read to you everything that was said to Bernard Placide Jr. before Officer Sharp murdered him. I'm doing that because I want it to be on the record for this public meeting, but also because I don't believe that you've all forced yourself to watch that video. If you had watched that video, there's no way you could claim to be operating in good faith while not moving to fire the police chief who promoted Sharp while she is still under investigation by the Attorney General. If you had watched that video, there's no way you could allow this city to move forward like nothing happened. So I'm bringing it to you here to make sure you've actually heard the way your police officers treat your constituents, the residents of Englewood. It was less than 60 seconds between when they first saw Bernard until the time he was fatally shot by Officer Sharp. 60 seconds where he is alone in his room, a threat to no one. 60 seconds where there is only screaming by officers at Bernard, escalating the situation. No one speaks to him as a human being, nor tries to calm the situation to resolve it peacefully. I quote, "Come out now. Put your fucking hands up. Put your hands up now or you're going to get shot. Put your hands up, put your hands up, put your hands out or you're going to get shot. I'm not kidding. Hands up now. Drop the knife. Drop it now. You need to drop the knife. Drop it, drop it, drop it, drop the knife, drop it." End quote. There was no knife in the room with Bernard. Policing is a racist system, not just in Englewood, but certainly in Englewood. It will take more than firing the chief to fix that racist system here. But as you keep reminding people, that's the only thing you think you can do. So why haven't you done it? Imagine if right now officers stormed into this room, pointing a gun at you, screaming at you to drop a knife you don't have. Imagine if you have less than 60 seconds to process what was happening, what they were even saying, and what they wanted you to do. Imagine for the last 10 seconds they tased you, causing you to lose voluntary control of your body, no longer able to drop anything or obey their commands. That's how a taser works. It shocks your nervous system, takes your brain out of the loop, forces you to not be able to control your own body. exactly as the officers should have been trained it would do. Imagine one of those officers approaches you, still screaming, now pointing their gun at you at close range, and your body still won't do anything your brain tells it to do. You're frozen, you can't comply, even if you put every ounce of mental effort into doing what they're screaming at you to do. Bang!
Hello? Hello?
It's working.
What an excellent way to end that. First, my name is Keelan Scott. I'll apologize about any behavior or anything I exhibited last time. What a perfect example, way to end that. I myself has been tasered while being beat by the police. You might not know my story. Unfortunately, there's only 3 minutes to talk about this. I'm actually in a lawsuit right now. So that's true. When you get tasered, I don't even remember anything. It distorts your memory. It distorts your body. You don't know what's happening. I personally was beat before I was tasered, and had to hear my wife screaming about her dead brother in the basement as they beat me and my wife in Fort Lee, New Jersey. Yeah, that happened, and that's a lawsuit that's happening right now. And I want to mention that there's other incidents of police brutality, obviously, that has occurred in this county, specifically Englewood and Fort Lee. There's a man right now named Minute Ainsworth who's dealing with a bunch of people turning their back on him, and he's trying to go up against trial against the racist system in Bergen County. And he led and talked with the council members or mayors and sorts of Englewood, and seems like anybody who was with him has turned their back on him. And even though there's a video obviously showing that he's attacked by the police, nobody cares. Just like the video of Bernard Placide, you can obviously see that he has no knife, that the knife is broken, or there's just a handle or a piece of stick or something, and he gets shot for a piece of stick. Unfortunately, what's happened in this country is, number one, the police started as a racist system to be modeled after the Ku Klux Klan, or the Ku Klux Klan itself, and the racism and the white supremacy and the authoritarianism mindset that comes from the Ku Klux Klan and from the racist mindsets of the racist forefathers has manifested into the police of now. The police that exist now have done everything in their power to, since the 1960s or something like that, to put as much money as possible to create the strongest unions, to create the rules that guide them and govern them the way that they see so fit and they give to lobbyists. They are the richest, possibly richest union from the Fraternal Order of Police to the Police Benevolent Association are the richest unions in the country, or if not one of the richest, or the ones that push their resources the most to ensure that they are not held accountable. And the rules and guides of the prosecutor's offices, the district attorney offices, all of the justice systems that exist in this country is guided first and foremost to cover itself rather than the people that it serves. And we, us people, taxpayers, specifically the marginalized, need to rise up and say enough is enough. We have been desensitized to what is happening in front of us. And all of us are a victim, even these council members here, of this crooked system that has flipped it around to who's in charge. And who is in charge is us people that are taxpayers, us marginalized people, black sorts and others. I noticed the other woman had 20 seconds, so I'm gonna keep going 20 more seconds, because I think this is much more important than anything else being talked about, people being killed. We gotta do something. We have to stop this nonsense. I appreciate any council members that have done something, that are understanding that this system is racist, authoritative, and a grave issue, but this is a psychological issue, a sociological issue, and we have to wake up and realize that we have been desensitized to the absolute unacceptable. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Reverend John Given, Shiloh AME Zion Church. I just want to reiterate on what we have said previously and down through the month. And as we work through and try to bring understanding and justification with Bernard, our police officer is still absurd in our city here and going off on the deep end. I wonder when and where we're gonna draw the line in the sand. Don't let balloon blow up. Thank you.
There were a few questions.
Close the public comment.
Public comment is closed. There were a few questions posed. Bob, I hate to do this to you, but
That's okay.
would you please, I believe you could answer them.
All right. Thank you, Council President. Charlene from Oakland Street made a comment about one of her neighbors. There is a flexible hose there. You know, it was, we do have pictures of it, so it's not going onto her neighbor's property. And we have an understanding that there's a plumber that's going to be coming to make permanent connections. Doreen from 73 Glenbrook Parkway had a question about some pumps that are being discharged out onto the street, and there was a note that our engineer was going to address that. I know that. So if
Just quickly, I've spoken with the person with the contractor that's working for the city. They're not your property, seeing that problem in front of the apron. He's probably gonna tackle that in the next couple of weeks. What we're planning on doing is there's an elevation issue between your apron and the catch basin that's further down the street. We're gonna get that fixed so the water continues to flow in the catch basin.
I believe.
Microphone.
Yes, the park also, we're looking at the park. I know there's some sidewalk issues at the park, the unevenness, et cetera. We're looking to take care of all of that as part of an overall assessment that we're doing of all our parks. So that's one of the things that we're looking at. It is on the list to get repaired.
Thanks, Franz. Thank you. And as far as the Matledge, and I'm glad you got the stop sign. Okay, at least we got part of it done, so.
But I think the problem is there's a stop sign missing on Matthews too. There's one missing on the other side. So we need to go back there and check
do
the
the whole-
stop sign to make sure
Okay.
we got it. I'm surprised Mr. Wilby didn't tell us anything about this since he lives in that area.
No, but the important thing is that the problem wasn't ignored, it was addressed, and we'll go back and we'll address it again. Okay, do I have a motion to close the meeting? Make a motion? Yes?
Make a motion.
Second, do we have a second? Did you, excuse me, you want to address that?
Yeah, there's, Ms. Bullock brought up
Sorry.
several items. I don't have access to all of the information, so we'll have to report back at the next meeting, but she had asked questions about Spanish-speaking surveys, the paper copies. That was part of the requirement for the grant application was to reach out, and we wound up translating the survey into Spanish, and it was distributed to some of the coffee shops and other areas where some of our Spanish-speaking residents, purchase coffee and some desserts. Let's see, what else was there?
But I don't speak Spanish, I speak Swahili.
Well, maybe next time we'll have to put it into that, but there was another comment made by the gentleman named Matt, just as a point of order, Officer Sharp was never promoted. So, that's just, we want to be clear on that. Okay. And, so that's it, so we'll.
Is that it?
Yep, and we'll get
Okay.
back to the next
We
meeting.
have a motion, could I have a second, please? I want to adjourn. Do I have a second? Thank you.
You don't need
All in favor? Okay, meeting adjourned.